What is up, speedsters? Welcome to my Flash Season 7 finale recap, review, breakdown, and rant. And yes, that is because this episode, this is a two-part finale. This was the second part to a two-parter, and that is the Flash Season 7, you know, over with. And I know I've said this quite a lot recently, and I will revisit it a few times just to kind of further and enhance my point. This episode really does personify what the Flash is these days. And you may not really understand what I'm saying with that right away, but you'll see what I mean eventually. And I have to admit, look, I understand how some people may really like what's happening in the latter episodes of this season. The final 4 episodes saying, oh, the Flash is finally getting back to... Is it, though? Just because we've got a Flash family, species left, right, and center, I feel like it's more of a facade, really. Just because we're kind of getting something that's on our wish list doesn't mean that they didn't send us a different version of what we wanted. It's kind of like that analogy. And let me just say this as well. I went through it on Twitter yesterday, so you can enjoy this. There's no one saying that you can't enjoy this, and I'm asking those people who did enjoy it in the comments to respect those who have differing opinions, aka critiquing the show like myself, but also the same goes for people who don't like this, like myself, talking to people who did enjoy it. Just let's keep it nice, because yeah, I've had it on Twitter, as I said, with people saying you just hate the Flash because you like dark things, and you're a Batman fanboy and you only hate the Flash because you're chasing clout. What? Then how the hell am I into Superman and Lois, Stargirl, lighthearted? You see what I mean? One thing I can't stand is when people critique things and all of a sudden it's hating. If anything, we love the show because we want it to improve. But rant over there. Let's get into the actual rant of the title of this video, The Flash Season 7, Episode 18. And man, was there just so many things wrong with this episode again. And, you know, whether that is just there's some things that I didn't prefer, but there's also legitimate, like, writing issues. They just hope that you just go along with it as usual. You know, I need to get on with this. Nora was worrying about Bart at the beginning. Everything's falling apart. Meanwhile, we had Godspeeds who were fighting, and you know, Kramer and Joe were looking out of it. And my God, I've got something to say about Kramer's ability. Now, you may be thinking, but wasn't that kind of cool and surprising? Yeah, if they followed their own rules, and we will get to that. This is the thing about this show. They don't follow their own rules that they set up. And of course, the conversation between August Hart and Barry happened in that mindscape where he has a literal throne. I do still think that throne's cool, so like bonus 0.2 of a point for this episode. So with this August Hart, I kind of have a bit of a mixed opinion on him. Last episode I said I kind of like the actor. It's kind of, you know, he's got that kind of speedster ego kind of confidence about him in terms of like a villainous speedster. And initially I kind of liked where he was going a bit at the beginning of this scene, but then I just thought he does really go over the top at times. And I maybe you don't see this, but I really did see it to the point of where I felt like if he just dialed it back 10%, it would have been fine, because some of the delivery of his lines was like kind of cool and cocky. He believes he's like a god of speed. He wants speed. He's obsessed. Clearly he's a psychopath. I have no issues with that. But there were times where the delivery was just so over-eccentric, if you will, that it's just like he did a line of cocaine. Like he literally went, you know, it was like that at times. That paired with the dialogue we have with Godspeeds in these final episodes, which is something I think a lot of people are agreeing with. It really is cringe, and we'll get to that a little bit later. We get some commentary about Impulse is the one who helped him realize the truth. This is the backstory of this Godspeed that I really do actually like, for example, because this is a guy who's obsessed with speed, wants to get speed, almost parallels Earbud Thorn a little bit. So when he looks at someone like Impulse, who's quite cocky, Bart Allen's son, or, you know, in the source material, grandson, I can totally understand where he's coming from, where he's like, he views him as unworthy. All the times we thought he was so cavalier with his gift, a gift that should have been his. You know, so I understand that. I can understand he's obsessed about speed. I don't understand why the reveal of him wanting organic speed and then, like, the music changes to, like, revelation music. Like, that wasn't a revelation. I was just like, no shit, you want organic speed. Obviously. There were some loose things that I didn't fully understand. Maybe that's down to my own, like, dumbassery, I don't know. But he was just like, one thing I didn't foresee is the memory loss being a side effect of fracturing himself in time. Why are you fractured in time? Why was Iris fractured in time? That's just something that occurred to me. Just want to put it out there. Unless I'm being really stupid, they never explained why Iris had to be protected in the Still Force and she was fracturing throughout time. It's literally a dead end. So I was saying, I hope it's not just because Candace Patton was kind of out of those episodes for a couple of episodes, but she was, like, am I being stupid? Why was she fracturing throughout time? Doesn't matter, I guess. Either way, though, Barry comes out of the mindscape, and he's kind of dealing now with the fact that he has to give him organic speed or the whole city will be wrecked. He also points out that if Heart is Bart's thorn, then that means he's already caused Bart a lifetime of pain and suffering, but we can stop this here in this time by finding another way. I don't like that, because if you stop it here in this time, as acknowledged by Bart later on, through saying the very quote that if Dad is right and we're actually creating the future by doing this, everything from now on will be different. Thank you! So, like, I'm just going to be repeating myself from previous reviews. Number one rule, don't go back in time really, or make too many changes if you do that because of, you know, you can create flashpoint changes. Don't run forward in time because just being there could potentially create a flashpoint. But let alone, if the kids run back in time, change the future so that Godspeeds won't be the future adversaries for, like, the kids. That won't create a flashpoint, will it? They're literally acknowledging that everything from now on will be different from that for them. So, like, do you see what I mean? It's just so dumb. You're literally acknowledging that you're changing the future through trying to stop it in the present. That alone is enough to cause a massive butterfly ripple effect out, but doesn't matter. At this point in the episode, Barry does a little pep talk to all the speedsters, or just the Flash family, for all of their speed. Our opponents, no matter how fast they are, they can't outrun a force of nature, which is when Mama Nora, or was it daughter Nora, because she kind of calls Barry Dad now? I don't know. Why did you have to give me PTSD to the Forces storyline for bringing her back? Trust me, I used to really like this Nora Speed Force on the show, but now you've tainted it forever for me. And this is when the Speed Force Nora gives them all a boost, even if you just have a spark of Speed Force inside you, she says, meaning Iris as well. And this is something that I just find silly, like, just because if Iris has, like, I just don't like this. I think the whole thing is their ideas are so out of touch with the fan base. So I'm not speaking for everyone, but clearly a lot of people have issues with the Flash at the minute. But like, if Iris even has a Speed Force in her, then that should make her a speed. Like, she had enough Speed Force in her to make her eyes glow orangey yellow and rebirth the Speed Force way back in that episode when all of that stuff happened, right? And now, like, so I just don't get it. I mean, I know that we're meant to get it, but that's just because we're going along with their logic. And I guess she just can't run until now because it's been boosted up. But no, like, the logic is like, look, she's got the Speed Force in her system, she should be a speedster by default. Unless the reason why Iris just keeps having like a level of Speed Force that just keeps getting topped up is because of Barry and Iris's extracurricular activities, if you know what I mean. Bottom line here, I just don't think Iris having the Speed Force in her, yet not being able to use it until it's boosted, yet she was capable of rebirthing the whole Speed Force. So, like, even back then, why wasn't she a speedster if she was capable of doing that? All of it is just one big dangled, like, it's like your shoelaces getting tied up. It just doesn't, it shouldn't make it. It's stupid. And of course, we get another line from Michelle Harrison to of course kind of do a little ring back to stupid boy. She then goes, my impulsive boy. No, obviously she didn't deliver it like that, but it gave me the PTSD to stupid boy Barry earlier on, but in the season, but whatever. So she wakes up Bart and Jay meet. It's a bit weird for Bart, obviously, because of the context we now have with how much Jay meant to him. Now back to Kramer and Joe. And yes, I'm talking about it this time because of what happens. Now, I say that because I've skipped the Kramer scenes before, because I seriously don't think they understand that none of us care for this. I mean, maybe you do, but at least from what I'm gathering through the comment sections, a lot of people are thinking along the same lines. So people were running away from Godspeeds, just randomly punching each other, you know. I mean, it's not so random, I suppose there was a reason for that. By the way, whilst I think of it, unless I'm being really stupid again, they never paid off the storyline of the Godspeeds who were actually fighting the other Godspeeds. Remember, the whole reason behind those good ones was because they wanted to live for themselves. They didn't want to just go back. It's kind of like a Savitar situation. They didn't want to just be disregarded, hence why that one Barry left, wanted to live and be himself, right? Yet, at the end of this episode, they all just came back to him, even the ones who didn't want to just be a mere clone. Yeah, that whole storyline, that little subplot of the Godspeeds who were fighting the bad Godspeeds, they wanted to live for themselves. This doesn't matter, does it? But anyway, back onto the Kramer stuff. Joe gets grabbed by Godspeed, except Kramer uses her speedster abilities to save him. Now, I understand, as pointed out at the end of the episode, ladies and gentlemen, that she is a meta. The meta test came back positive. and she can mimic the abilities of Metahuman. So, here is the big issue. Is Godspeed a Metahuman? No. They've even pointed out with actual lines that he isn't a Metahuman, and also that it is artificial speed. So, Kramer, writers, why could she use, and as you've explained yourself, Kramer mimics the abilities of metahumans, yet she somehow did that to somebody who isn't a metahuman, one with those Godspeed clones. Look, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be such an asshole with this, because I know how much I probably look like one. I just think at this point, I'm done with that. Like, look, I know some people would be like, yeah, but maybe they can mimic the artificials. No, they said metahumans. Godspeeds weren't metahuman. They literally weren't metahumans. So as a result of that, Kramer doesn't really have any powers to mimic. It's all just science stuff. Do you see what I'm saying? No matter how, like, if you try and defend this, which fair enough if you try to, but I feel like people who goes to those depths when it's already so transparently thrown out the window through, like, I guess the evidence I've supported or offered, it's just like, I feel like those particular fans are they're batting beyond to try and find an art. Like, when you're trying to do that, as somebody has told me once before, you are doing the right, you're doing the writer's work for them. Like, you shouldn't have to do that. And if anything, in this situation, you're not doing the writer's work for them because they already effed themselves over through giving one explanation and contradicting that explanation. But anyway, moving on. There's so many more things to talk about than this. Moving on to the Flash family showing up to the army of Godspeeds. I have to say, look, I really don't mean to deliberately dogpile. It's just revisiting critique I've already said. Really cringy dialogue, I think, from the Godspeeds. It was very, like, a lot of you saw that in the last week's episode where they were like, you know, kill the adversary, or like whatever he was doing. Here it was literally the same thing, like, kill the adversary and his allies. Kill them all. Kill the adversary and all of his allies. Kill them all. It's like, you could have found something a little bit better than that. So, I have mixed opinions on this, and some of the, like, a lot of this is just personal preference here, like fully transparent. So we had Bart throughout his kind of lightning throwing stars. I think that's kind of cool. Like, I don't mind that because it stays in line with how, you know, what I meant. If you watched my last week's review, you know that my opinion on the Speed Force powers is I don't think it should be as OP as what we had in the intro with Nora and Bart last episode. So like the whip and all of that was just a bit too much. I prefer Speed Force projectiles or something like that to be as it's established. You have to run around in a circle, maybe charge it up to unleash that kinetic energy. And that's why Bart's throwing stars are alright, because it's just kind of like him adding a cool little modification to that discharge of energy. But I feel like when it gets into whips and, like, I don't know, like grapple hook wires and stuff that are infused with Speed Force energy or whatever, it's just a bit too, it's just not what I'm really there for. Same with what I pointed out with how Godspeed last episode just kind of like pistoled out some like Speed Force bolts. It's like, well, why was there no charge required for that? It's just not consistent, but that's not really what I'm on about here. Consistencies aside, I just feel like Speed Force weaponry that are projectiles should be used sparingly, and now it's just kind of being made very gimmicky. Some people like to use the rule of cool as an excuse, but sometimes, I don't know, I feel like this show uses the rule of cool any way they can, at any possible corner. And the rule of cool can be used every now and again, and all that means is, like, you know, just kind of suspending your disbelief for the sake of something, like, even if it completely just contradicts or whatever, it's just cool. So, like, have it in the show. You can do that every now and again, and I can let that go. But this show is just like, rule of cool, rule of cool, rule of cool. Nothing else matters. I'm a Speed Force just kind of clicks her fingers. I don't get why she, like, kind of disintegrates or whatever, those Godspeeds, maybe just sends them back, I don't know, but it's a shame that she couldn't do that to all of them. Iris is back to back with Barry. I feel like there was, like, and I don't mean this in any bad kind of way, it's just like, Iris, I don't think, did she do anything as a speedster? I just feel like with my issues with her even having the Speed Force, which is why I have issues with her being a speedster, it's nothing to do with necessarily Iris being a speedster, it's just about, well, if you weren't even going to have her have her own moment, I suppose she did actually do the kind of windmill kind of thing, right? Then probably made it should have made her do something else, if you know what I mean, because it just felt like they threw her in there for the sake of proper Flash family, like, all teaming up kind of thing. At this moment, though, something is wrong. Godspeed finally gets his kind of yellow eyes. I think that would have been really cool to just have the yellow eyes as a visor on that costume. The suit in of itself would have been just much better like the comic book, but they decided to do it in CGI here. Should have had that from the beginning, but whatever. Godspeeds are getting recharged because they're feeding off Nora, which is why she goes back into the Speed Force. Barry just changes his mind and decides to give August Hart real speed, organic speed, but that's because we don't know, even though we kind of knew they had a backup plan. The idea behind this is that Barry's going to give August Hart a Speed Force boost, which should jumpstart his dormant artificial Speed Force cells, and then kind of just give him that organic speed. All I was kind of thinking in this moment is, like, maybe Iris doesn't want to be a speedster, but it just seems like they can make anyone a speedster, inject them with velocity, so then they have, like, these artificial dormant Speed Force cells, or with what they were saying here, it is artificial. But then, if you're wearing that tachyon harness, and then you get a little boost from the Flash, he can just go around creating speedsters. It's that easy now. Not to mention, your wife actually has Speed Force inside her. So all you need to do is give her a jump. Now anyone can become an actual organic connected to the Speed Force speedster. Iris is the best candidate there. Like, she actually has dormant Speed Force in her or some shit like that. Who knows, really, because it doesn't matter. But as I said, all you need to do is get an injection of velocity. That means you have dormant artificial Speed Force cells. All you need then is a boost, and bang, you're a speedster. But I suppose, I'm just saying, they could make Chester a speedster if they really wanted to. Regardless, though, in this moment, August does get jump-started, gets his memories back, and he likes being the bad guy. And this allows Godspeed to speed teleport. Once again, why can't Barry ever just do this? Like, you know, like proper, like, Speed Force teleport out the way. Powers are just, like, it doesn't matter anymore on this show. You just get powers, and we will talk about that later with the lightsabers. And then, God, speaking about the dialogue, now that August Hart's got his actual organic Speed Force connection, he's just like, come to daddy, my children. And then when he screams, like, the cheese is here. All the Godspeeds return back to August. He reabsorbs them all. True to his word, as he said. And as he says himself, at last, true speed for a true god. Once again, it's just, like, I wanted to really like Godspeed, but I just feel like they've gone over the top. And what I mean by that is, so we get the dialogue of, like, you got what you wanted, August, now what? And he's like, now you, Flash, die by my hand. And I'm just like, is that fucking it? Like, Jesus Christ. I mean, where's the depth in this story? I just feel like it's kind of Nickelodeon level hero versus villain. Like, the kids don't really need to understand the intricacies of why the villain's gone bad, or like why the hero's doing this and what the stakes are. It's just, I'm the god of speed, and the dialogue is just as cringy as that sounds, and I am going to go after you, Flash. You're gonna die. Do you see what I mean? It's just like, if you think about it, peel back the layer. Like, there is no depth to this villain story. There just isn't. There's no motivation. I'm just asking you, if you're really not understanding what I'm saying right now, to see past the cool little VFX of the white lightning bouncing off this character and see beyond it. Because you won't see anything beyond it. They do mention in this moment, and this is kind of something else that rubs me up the wrong way, they're like, Godspeed in this moment could be faster than Barry, due to not only getting his organic speed, but also by reabsorbing all the artificial ones. So, you know, with all due respect to the writers here, like, I get what they're proposing, the argument they're proposing, but the issue is that this is the Flash who's had multiple speed buffs over the seasons. Like, come out literally and articulating in the episode, man, like, you've been reinvigorated with so much speed. That's happened again this season. In that scene where they're in the Speed Force, the Force's storyline was ending, they're like, yeah, now with us here and everything, you're faster than ever before. And how many times did they said that? And it just still doesn't really seem to matter because of plot. Somehow this new speedster, like, no, Barry's had enough buffs to make him damn fast. We get more of that awesome dialogue with saying there can only be one god of speed, Flash, and this is when I wrote down, this is when Barry's inner saboteur is like, effing excuse me? This is when the Reverse Flash comes in, and I wrote down that, not gonna lie, cool entrance, but it's not exactly, so this is where it comes down to a bit of personal preference. So this isn't exactly what I kind of like to have imagined for what they were going to do with the Reverse Flash after his negative tachyons were just floating around, kind of like Voldemort style at the end of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone or the Philosopher's Stone. So who knows who he'd inhabit next and who we would see him return as, but well, no. Like, it just turns out he returns as Kavanaugh again, and only because they somehow helped him bring him back for this through the Speed Force connecting with the negative Speed Force. I mean, of course, it's like, what did I expect? I guess I knew they'd bring Kavanaugh back. I don't really have a massive complaint with that, but it's just that he was brought back for this. I also don't really like the fact that they even teamed up in the first place. I felt like Barry could have beat Godspeed in another way. Quite literally, as they say later, why didn't you get the kids involved? And I thought the reason for that was silly, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But he didn't have to go to his arch nemesis. This is once again a very contrived thing to set Thawne up for later on, and they could have still set Thawne up in a completely different way for later on. It just seems like such an oversight for our hero to do this. This is the Reverse Flash who would happily murder Iris West Allen at any given opportunity, and now he's out there. Like, I'm not saying that the Reverse Flash shouldn't come back. I'm just saying the way they've done it is teaming up with Barry wasn't the way to do it, in my opinion. Especially when it's very easy to imagine Barry going about this in many other ways. Like, he genuinely could have. If it was the only way, then fair enough, almost. It's like, oh, you have to work with Thawne. But it wasn't that. It really wasn't that situation. So this is when Godspeed... This is when he pulled out the freaking lightsaber lightning sword. So let's talk about this. I'm sure many of you are thinking about my thoughts about this. So maybe Godspeed would know how to do that. This is where the issue lies. So there was a bit of controversy around this. And I'm coming at it from personal preference, but also critical, because they've completely screwed up on like that. It just doesn't make sense in a writing sense for Barry to do this. So first of all, let me start off with the critique. Actually, like, the writing of it doesn't make sense. So maybe Godspeed would know how to do that, because he's so obsessed with the Speed Force. Maybe he learned some things in the future before coming back and stuff, and maybe even Reverse Flash, because, you know, God knows what knowledge he has had and what we haven't seen before. You know, he's from the future and he's had speed for quite a while, albeit that he's never pulled out this goddamn sword before. But for Barry to do it with no education in this moment, it's just silly. It doesn't make sense. So, look, think about it. How did Barry do that? How did he know how to do that? Thank you. And not only that, guys, to top off the corniness, it's completely okay and cool. Like, seriously, I really do mean this in not a patronizing way. If you found this, like, a cool scene, and if I force myself into, like, this kind of different mind state, if you will, and I always try and do that, seriously, to put both sides of my foot on each side of the fence, so to speak. Both sides of my foot, you know what I mean? Each foot on each side of the fence. I can almost appreciate how one could find this cool. But zoom out just for a minute. It's almost like a parody when they just pulled out and ignited their lightning lightsabers in that moment. It really is. I just can't explain it, because it's like, with the way the Flash is these days, it's like, well, of course Eric Wallace, you know, made a decision for them to have lightning lightsabers when, like, and down to, like, the personal preference side of it, as I've already articulated, I don't like the Speed Force weaponry. That is just all of a sudden got really kind of, in the last half a season, just so much more, like, the arsenal's just got that much bigger, and when it never has before. The only way I can put this, critically, in a writing sense, it doesn't make sense for how Barry did that, so it was just kind of really silly. Secondly, I just think the Flash, this personifies how flamboyant things have got. Like, of course, they're just gonna get out freaking lightsaber speedster things. It's not what I'm here for, personally. Fair enough, you found that really cool. And parts of it were kind of cool. Oh, pew pew, kind of shh. But, like, as I said, zoom yourself out of that situation. It's not like... It's not it. Also, on top of that, somehow Barry fights after having never been trained in the art of sword fighting. I know some stan of the Flash could be like, how do you know he didn't take fencing classes? Well, I don't know. I suppose you're right, oh mighty Stan. There you go, you've won, but you know what I'm trying to say. I also do always find it funny when the Team Flash are looking at the monitor and they actually can't see F all of the situation other than little circular dots saying Reverse Flash and Flash, and they're like, oh god, he almost... Do you see what I mean? Like, that's also kind of silly. Admittedly, though, a nitpick is not really something I care all too much about, but since we're here in this very negative review, I may as well go ham. But that's when the Reverse Flash impales August Hart with his Reverse Flash negative Speed Force sword, and Barry, for some reason, acts surprised when, like, Thawne almost tried to kill him. Thawne is just like, well, you got me here to deal with a threat. I dealt with it, and now it's just you and me, Flash. I've been waiting for this moment for a long, long time. Very Reverse Flash dialogue. I'm only going to say this once. Walk away while you can, Barry says, kind of flexing like you don't stand a chance against me. And that is when he's like, Alan, you're too weak to stop me, and I'm just getting started, and the Reverse Flash tries to punch Barry. So I do want this to be a cool moment, but it's like, if Barry is, like, so... The whole time, Barry was just standing there, and he slows time so much that he basically just literally stands there the whole time whilst the Reverse Flash's punch is nearing his face. I just think in that moment, if he's that fast, well, surely he could have just done anything and everything in this episode. And also, Well, yeah, like, just think about the logic of it. He's that fast. Reverse Flash, negative speed force, fueled punch is coming towards his face. He's literally just like... It just makes you question every other moment in the episode. I know this is an age-old meme ever since season 1. There's so many situations where Barry could have just taken a gun and stuff, but I don't know if they should have made that much of a thing with, oh, I got faster, didn't you? One thing I do like about it in one way, though, is it does set up Thorne to be so humiliated that he's going to come back and come for Barry. But, like, that's the only praise I can give it. It's like, okay, it's a good motivation for Thorne to... He was humiliated. He's literally like, what the hell? Like, I'm coming back. I'm going to find any way to boost my speed and absolutely mortify you the way you mortified me. But yet again, backpedaling a little bit, as I said, I don't feel like the Barry Allen hero we know 7 years in would have got his arch nemesis, the one who murdered his mum, to help out of this situation when he could have just got his kids and others. He really didn't need to. And if he's that fast anyway, like, it's almost a joke that they tried to point out that Godspeed was faster after reabsorbing his artificial clones. Like, either way, like, I wanted to enjoy this Reverse Flash moment because he's like, you know, kind of like one of the kings of this show, so to speak, but yet again, can't even do that, really. I feel like what they should have done is stuck to the negative tachyons floating out there, and in the Flash's final season, they should have just maybe had another actor come over and be that body who the Reverse Flash tachyons went into. Whether that be a woman or a man. Like, I would have been really game to see, like, a new actor take the role, whether that's Matt Letcher actually even coming back, but probably a new one. I would have been down for that, because it would have been cool. I know it would have replayed almost the season 1 beats of, oh, like, they don't know who the Reverse Flash is because he's in their new skin suit, so to speak. But so much better, I think, than... I get the setup they've done, because technically Thorne could come back at any time. I 110% believe that this should end next season. It's probably not going to, and we're going to get to that. And the situation they've constructed with the Reverse Flash could mean he could come back next season, or even in season 9, because he could just spend the whole of season 8 trying to come up with a way to make himself faster, if you know what I mean. So that's why he could come back at any time. And as we all know, it's very obvious that the Reverse Flash is going to be that final season villain. Or at least that's the way it seems like it's going. Ultimately, I just felt like it was really stupid to get Eobard Thorne involved, just as like a character motivation side of things. Because yeah, now we have Thorne extremely humiliated in this moment. He runs off, he's out there somewhere, his arch nemesis ready to kill him or his wife or his kids at any blink of a second of a moment. It doesn't matter. So really, this should set up the final season as of what I was just talking about. But fantastic news, Flash fans. Look, and I really want... The reason why I want this show to end next season is because I feel like it needs to for the integrity of the show. If they go beyond that, it's just going to be more and more of what we've been getting, which evidently I don't think a lot of people are enjoying. But Eric Wallace did say this, and excuse me, I'm just trying to find the quote. But yeah, he says, I feel like this show could easily run for at least several more seasons, and possibly beyond. We have so much more that we'd love to show the audience and give to them. Here's me hoping that season 8 would be the last, but I low-key knew that they would probably stretch it to season 9. But even then, I was hoping season 9 would be like a 10-episode Arrow season 8 situation, but no. Seems that Eric Wallace wants to go on for potentially 4 more seasons, but I still don't think that would happen. I would like to think that the cast, people like Grant Gustin, thinks that with his negotiated contract, that I'm going to try and end it in 9, Mr. Eric Wallace. But yeah, we'll go for season 8 and 9. I view it should just be season 8, but yeah, let's just hope that Grant Gustin wants to end it himself in season 9. But if it's Eric Wallace's choice, man, he would happily go to supernatural levels. All right, and the camera died because I've been ranting too long now. We good to go? I believe we are. So, okay, August Hart is in the Iron Heights. He knows his identity. What if he talks? I found this hilarious as well. Luckily, he's a speedster, so Speed Force Nora was able to remove that from his memory. I just literally wrote, how contrived. I mean, you could just say, but Boba, what's wrong with that? Because, like, I guess there's something that we've never learned before, you know, and maybe that can be done. But it's like, of course it can be done, right? So Barry wants to renew his vows. I drew it, of course. And then Impulse starts randomly singing. So, okay, look. Here's a very interesting one. Look, I get it. But cheese from me. It's cheesy for me. So that little montage of the scenes of people reacting to him just like... You know, stuff like that. It personifies the Flash today. I've said this, and I've said this, and I've said this. You take that comment as you will. Sincerely. You take that as you will. it could mean for you, it personifies the Flash today of everything you love. But also, to another person, could mean exactly what I'm taking from it. It personifies what it is now because it's nothing like what it was before. So, dislike it as you will, enjoy it as you will, but once again, this scene of when he was singing, it's not what the show would have done in the first 3 seasons. It just isn't. And Jordan Fisher's an amazing singer. I have no issue with that. It's just like this, and you pair that into that one scene, for example, when Eric Wallace, he seems to be totally more flamboyant and campy in terms of injecting that into the show. And I know I said that song was like some teenage song, like, and it wasn't that one time when Barry was punching the Godspeeds and they put that song in there. But song choices like that, whether it even be a cool band, it's still very campy, and it's not what the show would have done. And no one getting into a tangent right now, but it's just kind of pair that one scene from quite a few episodes back in Star Labs when he was punching him and that song came on, and like this scene and other scenes like that we get, like when like Killer Frost is like freaking dueling Chill Blaine and his abs are out. He's like, oh, don't stare at my abs. And then you get a little quirky song in there. Whether it's a cool song or not, it's still like these scenes as an overall picture, including this one with the Vows and the singing, it is the essence of the Flash today. This isn't the shape of the show that was tonally created for the first 3 years. So it's like trying to fit a square into a triangle hole. It won't fit. But now they've made it a square, and they expect the fans of the triangle hole, in this weird analogy, to be completely not alienated by that. And that is why we are, or at least I am. But that's it. That's the review. I was talking about how I am going to review Season 8. I will 100% review Season 8, Episode 1 and 2, maybe. But it's very clear to me that the showrunner, Eric Wallace, and his team of creatives and writers and stuff, they're either being deliberately ignorant. And I can understand that sometimes in creative decisions and situations like that and positions, you just see noise from people like me. And I only critique this show out of love for it. But you think, just like the people who create the comments like, you're just a hater, maybe they view it that way and they're just like soldiering on with their conviction for this newfound flamboyancy and campiness for the Flash show. But I really wish they would listen, because it tells me, and what I'm worried about is that they're just going to double down on this even more. I don't trust this creative team anymore. Like, I first liked the graphic novel approach when he first came on board, but now the show, he's had more than enough time. I think the one time he succeeded was Bloodwork. Other than that, Eric Wallace has just dropped the ball. Like, it's not just him, but he is the showrunner. The show just isn't good anymore. So, like, I'm not really talking coherently right now, but I guess in terms of Season 8, I will review the first couple of episodes because I need to, like, I want to find out what the show's taste is like next season, but I'm assuming it's just going to go ham with what it's doing now, with the things that we don't like about the Flash these days, and if that's it, I'm saying goodbye. I don't care. Like, I think a lot of people are as well. So many people have already dropped off this show. It's self-explanatory at this point. So, just like Batwoman, like, it's so sad to me, actually. Like, with my absolute utter disregard for Batwoman, after giving it such a chance after chance, wow. I feel the same way about the Flash show now. And that sucks. So, rant over, guys. Review over. Recap over. Flash is bad. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe. Check out my links in the top pinned comment to my Twitter, other places like that. I don't really know how to end this video. I'm not feeling any particular emotions right now. I just feel like I don't know what to say. Like, anyway, guys, yeah, take care. And, yeah, I guess I'll see you in a future Flash video. I don't know, maybe? I guess. Let me know your thoughts about this brilliant Flash story that has just been told to our very eyes and minds. End of video.